that Viserys Targaryen is the rightful monarch after all.
We still outnumber them.
Which is the bigger number, 5 or 1?
5.
5. 1.
Thank you so much for joining us in the throne room today. Now, I want to go ahead and talk about Season 8, Episode 2, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And I know that I haven't been doing much on this channel, but I want to go ahead and do a couple of episodes for you guys and also give you some new series that we'll be working on. I'll talk about that later. But at this time, currently, let's talk about Season 8, Episode 2. Now, the reason why I haven't done any reviews in a while is because I was so dissatisfied with the Game of Thrones. So if you're not caught up with the season, please don't listen to this episode. I'm going to give you a brief breakdown of what happened. Also, along the way, I'm going to give you some commentary on what I believe should have happened. So, in this case, I feel like Daenerys coming to Winterfell, it was a great opportunity for them to rehash the same opening that happened when Baratheon came, but we can see it's a little darker, a little bit more grim, and a little bit more brooding with everybody looking at her. They're like, what the hell are you doing here? And I feel like the way they opened it should have happened different as far as the director-wise. I'm not a director, but I think as a fan, I do have a valid opinion that definitely does matter. And if you want to comment below, make sure you
tell them all to stop.
You want the entire horde to stop?
I think that's a little
For how long?
And you're not coming there to conquer, so
until
there's no
I
point
command
of
them otherwise.
really coming in like that. And I feel like
You're learning to talk
as
like
a
a
hand,
queen.
what is Tyrion
As a
thinking?
queen.
Like, the Northerners are already
A
mistrusting.
Khaleesi.
So I guess it makes sense because the Night King's coming, but it's not required. I think when you're formatting to come through a new city, I think that they should have provided a more calm, open approach to their introduction. That's just me. We go to the next scene with Bran, Daenerys. We also talk about, they talk to each other, hey, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose because Sansa and her kind of going back and forth a little bit, I guess, to Bran. And he comes out of his, ET phone home to talk all of a sudden. But then I'm not so happy about what happened at this season because I feel like they could have gave a better ending, but we're not talking about that at this point, but just not happy about it. So he says what he says, puts his little 2 cents in. Women are catty, I think that's important to detail. Women don't like each other when they first meet each other. Most women don't, especially a foreign queen that's as beautiful as Daenerys. And, Sansa already talked about her through her man, Littlefinger. And I think things would have been a little bit different had he not fell in love with her mom and been so slimy. If he didn't own a brothel, she might have been open to marrying him, but he is what he was. He was what he was, and he is what he is. And so in this case, it feels like there's a power struggle just, from the beginning. It's a great reuniting of people, everybody's reuniting, and it's so fun. But as we know, Missandei, Grey Worm, and they're the only black people in here, and it just feels weird, because the way they look at each other, there's really no black people in Winterfell, so they're looking left to right, like, what the heck is going on here? Like, the way the people are looking at them, and I didn't like it. I'm an African American myself, and I think we're all people. Okay, not all of us are beautiful no matter what color we are, but we're all people. But, we all know everybody has their prejudices. So that was something I liked that they put in the show. And there's been a lot of people saying there's no black people in diversity in Game of Thrones. I'm like, I've seen many mixed race people, not as much as, in this case, I feel like they put more than most people have in their shows. And this is a fantasy series, so it really doesn't matter what color you are. Bastard's worse than anything else. I don't know why people are looking to tear down the show. But that's just them, the people that are doing it. I think that representing what type of fantasy series it doesn't matter. I think that both actors are very, very well placed in these roles. All the actors were amazing. Just want to say that. But Dan and Dave are complete idiots. We even have Seth Rogen talking stuff about them because of the way they finished the series, and it made no sense. Like, I get you're trying to rush, but there's a way to pace the story. You could have even gave 7 episodes and gave 2 more as a climax and said, oh, we're not done. And that would have been a more shock than to just try to throw shocking things in. I get you wanted polar bears and you want the dragons to do this and that, but I think if there had been more emphasis on storytelling, and it doesn't have to be George R.R. Martin, but my thing about this whole episode is it's like a power struggle. Complete power struggle between Sansa and Daenerys, with Daenerys first-handedly trying to assert her aggressiveness towards Jaime when she should have gave an introduction when she came through and said, hey, my name is Daenerys Targaryen, first her name, blah, 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 they unburnt, Missandei would have been talking. And then she could have said something else, but that didn't happen. at all. So we're left with an aggressive meeting. We're left with someone trying to assert her queenship, and it's great, but it's unneeded. The only one that really believes in her is Tyrion and the people that came with her. The Northerners are not going to bend on this. They're not going to change who they are because somebody new came in. And I'm sure they're very appreciative of the fact that she's coming to save and help them win this war. But nothing gets real until they really see, what's going to happen next, obviously. One of the things that I also noticed was Daenerys seemed to act like, everybody's going to love her when she's kind of like changing places. One of the things I didn't like about this episode was that Dan and Dave really didn't look at the character development and think about that. I guess they had their minds in Star Wars and weren't worried about what we would think of the episode at the end of the day as far as character, journey, and just everything that goes into the whole world of Game of Thrones. And it just seemed rushed, and it didn't seem that they were taking into account all the other steps we've taken, all the other the different seasons. And the reason I say that is because with, for example, the Red Woman, and then we also seen the woman that came through, that Kimbara, that actually said the prophecies, and we never saw what happened in that. We never seen the Red Army come, which would have been great. We just didn't see that, and I just feel like we got some kind of way, like, kind of messed up on that, like, as fans. Like, we invested 8 years, but at the end of the day, I think the actors did a great job with everything that they were given. I mean, I'm not talking about the actors, I'm talking about the writing. And it does start with the story, but then at the same time, I love all the actors, so I appreciate them entertaining us for one more year. I'm not going to critique it so much because there's other background behind some of these scenes that if you weren't really into what the directors and other people were saying, you might have missed it during the preview. So I feel like with Jon and the whole story of Daenerys and him could have waited. We should have seen a hall meeting, much like the Baratheons. We should have seen more of Daenerys trying to build relationships. And I know they didn't have time for the arguing, but she definitely had time to build her trust with the North. And it's not something that comes easily if people are prejudiced towards you based on what they've heard and fairy tales and myths and legends and whatever else it could be. I also see that, I think Tyrion was great for a time, but if he's not going to educate her and tutor her in the things of Westeros and the North and how to rule as a ruler there, that would be different, and to actually build out her laws and her supposed reign, then I feel like it's like almost not even worth it all. And I just don't get that. Like, I think instead of worried about Cersei, I mean, you're getting the throne, but I mean, like, how is it going to just be you on the throne and no one other people are going to work with you? It can't just be a hand and that's it. It's going to be a whole team of different people. And that's one of the things that I think that Missandei would have been great at. Probably, like, she could have been anything, she could have been Hand of the Queen. They could have made a woman there instead of Tyrion, because I feel like with his conflict of interest, and she understands that because she did the same for her brother, but sometimes people are so volatile, you just have to let them go. And I think after he did what he did, and I feel like he should have educated her a lot more in the things of culture. It would have went differently. But at the end of the day, I really feel like this was a good episode when it came to Brienne, becoming a knight. I also like the fact that even though I didn't like Sansa's character, like, she's kind of turning to Miss Littlefinger without him even being alive. I just feel like she kind of one-upped Daenerys in front of everyone, and it's like she overruled Jon, everybody, even though, like, Daenerys is like, what is King of the Warden of the North thing? And, like, she's not even addressing the fact that he's bent the knee to her. And, Jon's already told her that. And I think Jon not wanting the throne is one problem I have with his character. Like, he's not willing to grow within the blessings he's given. Like, if he's given the King of the North based on the fact he's a bastard, he still doesn't want to take it. He still wants to feel like he has this honor, and he doesn't feel like he belongs. And I understand that, but it's also to a fault. And I think, we all see what happens next, but I'm not going to go there. At the end of the day, just as a fan, I give this one about 7 crowns. And the reason why is because they progressed Sansa, I get it, because she didn't want Jon to go north. But just for Arya saying she's the smartest person I know, it was the dumbest thing I ever heard. I also didn't like the Arya scene with Gendry, because it was really squeamish for me. I mean, I think they could have kissed and they could have made out a little bit and then went cut, because that's not so bad. But it's just weird because we've seen Arya grow up, and it made me want to throw up. I'm going to throw up in my mouth, like, just watching it, just because it's kind of like we see her as a kid still, and I just think that they could have made it more suggestive and it didn't have to go there. I also don't like the fact that I feel like, with that being said, I don't like the fact that the Northerners didn't actually, like, even in the first episode, they like didn't even address Daenerys. They were just so mad she was there, even though she was helping them. So personally, when she was asked about the North, she should have gave it up. I think that would have been a very humble gesture to provide to the North, and also just not to want no smoke, because they already had that before all that happened. So just be humble and kind and have mercy. They've done nothing with you. They're fighting with you. They're allies that you could use.
Going to have to find another soldier.
Please be careful in dealing with such a man.
Is this how you use shit? Okay, because I don't really know. Is this how you use shit? Okay, because I don't really know if you should go.
Let me show you what you're fighting for.
Y'all really know how to make a brother feel welcome. Yeah, let's make it happen. Hey, time to get the boogie on. Yeah. Hey, time to get the boogie on. Yeah.